Because I'm confused on that too.
Okay, no, ask your question again.
So for lesson 4.1, you had to subtract the things that were like,
Okay, so this is kind of like the opposite of kind of what you would think, in a
Yeah.
sense, right?
Yeah.
Because this is, you're using somebody else's money essentially when you're using a credit card.
yeah,
Okay, so your amount on there, you always want to be zero. Okay, so anytime that you buy more on it, you add to it. Anytime that you pay on it, you make it go closer to zero, and that's what you want. Okay, so if I use it and I don't pay it all off for that month, the next month when I use it again, my bill goes higher. And it continues to grow until you pay it all off. That's where people get in trouble. Because they try to make monthly payments or the least minimum payment, and it'll take them a long, long time to get there. Does that make sense? Whereas, as I said, I use mine as just to grow my credit score. So I always know that I have money, and as soon as I get my bill, I'm going to pay it. So I never have to worry about a finance charge, which we're going to talk about today. And I never have to worry about my balance being anything but zero, because I'm always paying it off. Now, they might crisscross in the mail, like my statement might, but then mine would still be to the next month because I only use it probably once a month. But does that make more sense now?
yeah.
And that's key because that's what we have to talk about today. Okay?
You guys correct, that's the one I'm correct.
Yes.
It's cold.
So,
So like, do you only recommend like using your credit card like once? Or like,
it's totally about what you have money-wise, really.
okay.
And, are you going to then be able to pay it off in a timely fashion?
Or like, do you only recommend using it like if you have the money? Like, or like, what if you know you're gonna have the money,
But you don't have it at that time?
Yeah.
That would be the greatest time, or the most responsible way of using it, I guess,
like,
you would say?
yeah, like you use it and you know you don't have it right now, but you get paid like the next week.
Right. So that's why a lot of people would use it, to ensure themselves that they could still buy whatever they needed. But they really don't have the money at that particular time. Exactly right. Okay? So today we're going to look at a finance charge. This is when you don't pay your card balance in full by the due date. Okay? You'll start getting a finance charge on this. Remember, there's a grace period, so if they say that you have a due date of such and such date, a grace period means what? You got 15 more days after that date to actually still pay it off. That's your grace period, okay?
Why would they do that?
Why would they do that? To take into consideration mail, to take into consideration those kind of things on the weekends, on holidays, and that such. So, because otherwise, some people have to really use that whole month because they need that time, like Easton was just saying, whether they have it or not.
So, is there only like one certain time you get a grace period, or do you get like a grace period like?
Depends if you use, or what I would say, misuse it. They could take it away from you. But otherwise, they probably give you a grace period every single time. Okay? So, this is kind of what Olivia was asking about now. So, you have to know how your finance charge is going to be found. Alright? You're going to take whatever your balance is multiplied by the percentage to find your finance charge. Again, your finance charge is just the amount of interest that you owe. Okay? The biggest thing here is figuring out the periodic rate. When they give you if they give you an annual interest rate for your credit card, you're never going to use that rate. You're going to turn it into a periodic rate, which means basically your monthly rate. Okay? So you have to make sure that you do this part right here every single time. Your finance charge rate is either going to be a daily rate or a monthly rate. And when you get your initial, they'll always give it to you as an APR. Then if they tell you that you're figuring it daily, you're going to divide by 365. If it's monthly, you're going to divide by 12. So notice here, an APR of 24% has a daily periodic rate of. So notice I took 0.24, so I changed my percentage to a decimal and then divided by 365. And that gives me 0.0658. That would be the percentage or my periodic rate if it was daily. If it's monthly, then I take my 0.24 divided by 12 and I get 2%.
So is this like the interest?
This is my interest rate.
Okay.
So basically, what we're getting at here is if you get a finance charge on a credit card, normally the amount of interest you're going to have to pay is going to be very, very little. Unless you max your credit card out. Okay? So you're talking about dollars, like $2.40 or something. It's going to be minimal.
What if the finance charge gets lost in the mail?
Isn't it connected to?
Meaning what?
It's not possible.
Like,
Your payment?
yeah.
No.
I mean, don't things get lost in the mail? Like, what if it just gets lost in the mail? You know?
Never
Like,
happens.
just don't get it.
Your bill?
Yeah.
Then you call them. It could happen. You're right. It could.
Right there, it's not possible.
Impossible.
Well, it's not.
Impossible.
Can and then not.
Alright, so when you're figuring this, you have two main methods. The previous balance method versus the adjusted balance method. This is something you might want to write down, at least part of this. Okay? So, the previous balance method, this is how you're going to figure out your finance charge. So we have the previous balance versus, oops, that should be a O, I think. Versus my adjusted balance method. So somehow you gotta, I guess, tell yourself or have a little note about how you're gonna do this. Okay? So the previous balance method, what's this mean to you? Well, hopefully you understand previous balance means the balance that I'm bringing forward. Okay? So whatever I have, okay, charges interest on the balance starting the last billing date of the previous month. So let's take for right now. We're going to switch over to November soon, right? So if I'm going to do the previous balance method on November 1st, if that's my billing cycle, and that's the other thing that you got to kind of know about is when is your billing cycle. Your billing cycle might not just be the first of the month to the end of the month. It might be, it's going to be when you actually started your process of having your credit card. That makes sense? So if Tiff gets hers on the 10th, her billing cycle would be the 11th through the 10th. But Adrian's might be the 21st through the 22nd. That makes sense to everybody? So they're all not going to be the same. So basically, on November 1st, I'm going to use, if I'm going to use this previous balance method, I'm going to use whatever I have on October 31st, my balance there, to do my calculations. Right? Previous balance. Whatever I'm bringing towards the next cycle. So again, if it's in the middle of the month, like we had for the ladies, then this could be October 21st and October 22nd. The 22nd would actually be my next month. And however your cycle works. So, when we're doing the previous balance method, any purchases or transactions that are new for the current month do not apply. So if I'm going and I finally get my bill in the middle of November sometime, anything that I did throughout November does not apply. So let's just say On 11/2, I used my credit card again, and on 11/6, I made a payment. So I bought something, and then I made a payment. These two things, they still don't matter to me. It's only this balance that I'm going to use. Because I'm going back to the previous balance. So this is kind of what you were saying. Even though that I'm still using it through that next month, I go back and make my calculations from that balance at the end of my cycle. Okay? So it's not anything that you did for this month. So if I kept using it and I made payments or whatever, this doesn't count. I'm going to go back to this number. Okay? So then I'm going to take my finance charge. So I got to figure that out. And again, when we say finance charge, we're talking about the periodic rate. And again, anytime that I say rate, I'm thinking about a percentage, right? So I'm taking my finance charge, which I'm using my periodic rate, times my, the finance charge is the periodic rate. I should write it this way, sorry. The finance charge is my periodic rate times my previous balance. Okay, so I get my finance charge. This is going to be some kind of dollar amount, and it's probably a small dollar amount. And then for my, what I would actually have to pay, my new balance, it's called. So this would be what I'm going to carry over to the next month. My new balance is going to be my finance charge. Added to my previous balance. Plus any new transactions, right? But we want to say new purchases. So this would be what Olivia was asking about. When I use my thing to make more purchases, anything that I buy, minus any payments, minus any credits. What's credit again? Gives me my new balance. But what's a credit? A credit would be, Derek uses his credit card to buy a new pair of shoes. He gets them and they sent him in the wrong color, so he sent them back. The company would give him a credit, right? A refund in a sense. So this is going to give me my new balance, what I would end up having carried over for the next time. So again, I'm going back to the previous balance, but then I'm figuring when I want my new balance, I'm figuring out everything at the end of that next month, including my finance charge. So this would only occur if I'm not making a complete payment on my account. Questions with that? So let's look at an example of this right away. So we can see if we can do this. So turn to page 138, please. Here.
So, when you said that, in that period, like 11 to 11/6, it doesn't add up to the previous charges of the month.
Right?
So, do you want to like I know like you want to keep a register of your credit. Do you want to like keep like a monthly register, like 1 month of what you use, and then what it should be, and then the next one?
That's totally up to you.
And then like leave a space before you get your, before you get your paper for what you should owe.
That's totally up to you again. How it works best kind of in your mind, or even how it works best for your calculations. Me personally, if I use my credit card, I'm gonna record that still on my regular check register. And so I'm already deducting that money from my account, even though it's on my credit card and I really haven't deducted it. But I know that I have that money and I've already deducted it. So then I would put like a little asterisk there and say, or I would put CC next to mine, because I know that that particular one's on my credit card.
Okay, so when you said it doesn't matter for the previous month, right?
Right, it doesn't matter for my in this case right here, this doesn't matter for just calculating my finance charge. It still matters.
Well, yeah, but then like, because once it switches over to the next month, it'll be on the next one.
Right. But we're gonna do all of our calculations first, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, totally. Alright, everybody on the same page? 138? Letter A. The balance of Sue's credit card that is subject to finance charges is $221.68. So, they're making it real easy on you. They're telling you exactly what it is. Okay? Her card has an APR of 18%. What's APR mean again? Annual percentage rate, right? And uses a monthly periodic rate. What are her current month's finance charges? So, in letter A, what was my bill? 221 something?
68.
68. All right. So they're already telling you they've done the other calculations. This would be basically my previous balance. Right? This is what I'm carrying over from last time. So the first thing that I have to find out is my periodic rate. So what am I going to do for this particular case to find my periodic rate? 18% divided by 12. Everybody understand we're trading out that? Why 12? Because it's monthly. So if we punch this into our calculator, what do we get? Anybody? 0.015. Okay? So, then we do what with it?
Times 221.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the kicker, kind of. You got to realize what this is right here. When whoever told me that number, the dragon, did you move the decimal? Okay, so you still have to move the decimal point 2 places. So you can do that at the beginning or at the end. But you have to remember. So he must have, I don't know when he did it, but he already told it to me as moving the decimal. Does that make sense? Okay, so this really would have been 1.5% if I would have done my division, and then I moved it. Okay? So, then I just take and multiply those two numbers together. And we get what? How much? Somebody help Donald again.
Donald's lacking everything.
Donald is just out of it today.
No, I get game day for Donald.
Wait, so you don't move the decimal?
We did move the decimal. So when he told it to me, this number right here would have been 1.5%. So then this really,
It's not.
yeah, it's not really considered a percent anymore. This would have been, and that's why I asked him when did he do it? Because they might honestly be that small sometimes. If this would have ended up only being, yeah, under this number, then you would have really had a really small one. Okay? Donald, did you figure it out?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so look, again, my finance charge is pretty small. Okay? Everybody okay with that? So letter B, Roland has or must pay finance charges on a balance of $1,500. The credit card has an APR of 21%, but uses a daily periodic rate. So the first thing I want you to do is figure out what is my daily percentage. And there's one more thing that we have to talk about in this one. So, the only difference with this one is I am going to take, oh yeah, that's my wheel. What was my percentage?
I think it was rolling.
21%. Okay, so I'm gonna take 21 divided by what? 365, and you got what?
Times 30.
5.75.
No.
Yeah, it's not.
It's way-
That's what you got for your grand total?
Didn't you
No,
get?
because
No,
he already
that's-
moved the decimal over, but he did move it. If you take 21 divided by 365, it's 0.057.
I got 0.00.
Because you already took the 0.21.
0.0575? Okay, so
Yes. How?
Yeah.
just take 21 divided by 365 right now. So we're all on the same page. And that's what? That's this, right? Okay, so that's a percentage. Now you have to move it 2 places. But we're moving it 2 places to the left. So this is 0.000575. Okay? Everybody good with that? So some of you, if you want, you can take this particular number right here, the percentage, move your decimal, and then divide, and you still get this number. You just have to know when you're doing it. It could be different than the other person.
And then we
You don't get that though.
No,
You get 5.75.
No, you don't.
Yeah, see, okay, here's the key though. Look at way over here to the right. It says E -4. That means you have to move your decimal 4 places to the left. Okay, so those are significant, or sorry, scientific notation. So then if yours was right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we still get this one. Okay, everybody good with how to get that? Okay. So now, I'm going to take this times 1,500, and what was it?
87.
Okay, now here's the last thing you got to remember when you're doing daily. So big star again, if I'm doing daily, I also then have to multiply by the number of days in that month. So this is the number of days. So what was the month? Or I think they actually told you in this one, right? So, here's where it says, read the last sentence. Finance charge for a 30-day billing cycle. So that might not be necessarily what month you're in. They're telling you it is a 30-day billing cycle. From wherever you started to wherever you ended. So that's where, again, I was saying, if Adrian's was the 21st to the 22nd, there's your 30 days. Even though it might be a month that has 31 days. Okay, that makes sense?
Yes.
But you have to remember to multiply by that 30. And so my grand total here is what?
27.38.
It's 38.
38.
38.
It's 38.
27,
39.
39.
38!
38!
It literally says 39. Yes.
Yeah, we're all.
Back use
We're all.
Yes.
to.
It's literally 27.375.
Yes.
Okay, so this must be the reason why. Gentlemen, this must be the reason why. Tiff just said, can I use that number before that I had with a negative? And so then that's not, it's going, it's not rounding this decimal to a certain place. That's why it could be a 39 compared to a 39.
Okay.
That's
the more true answer.
a good question.
The more correct
Yeah,
answer, but
correct.
whatever.
All right,
One answer.
so, shh, stop. Questions? So basically, what they did here in these problems, they already figured it out for you, right? The next ones on the next page, you have to do more work. So we're going to see. So now we're actually going to do the entire previous balance method. On these two, we're just figuring out the finance charge. Now we're going to do the whole method. Okay? So somebody read C out loud, please.
John Holden's credit card statement for April showed a previous balance of $309.20. New purchases and fees of $128.45. And payments and credits of $75. The card's annual percentage rate is 24%. And what is John's finance charge for April and new balance using the previous balance method and a monthly periodic rate?
Alright, everybody read and understand what they're saying.
See,
Okay, so, previous balance method, they tell you, so what am I gonna do? I'm taking my previous balance, but before I do that, I have to find my periodic rate, right? They always give me an APR rate. So this was 24%, but they said it was monthly, right? So I'm gonna divide by 12, and my new rate is what?
2.
0.02. Everybody agree? Okay, so somebody do this math, please. So I'm taking that periodic rate and multiplying it just to the previous balance. And I get what?
$6.18.
Everybody agree?
Do you have to use them?
No. So in this case right here, Mom said, do I use the whole thing? She had 6.184. Go ahead and round that to cents in that case. All right? So this is called my what then? This is my finance charge. So on the quiz, when they ask you what is the finance charge, that's that right there. Now, what does the question ask you to find?
What's the new balance using the previous?
The new charge, or the new balance. So, what was 128.45?
That was payment or purchases.
Purchases and fees. So, from my previous balance, will I add or subtract purchases? Add. Remember, this is how much I've already spent, and I'm spending more.
Yes.
Previous balance plus purchases. So you always add purchases and subtract payments. And then we're always going to add in my finance charge. So take 309.20 plus 128.45 minus 75 plus $6.18 for a grand total of
no.
You are.
Somebody else.
Oh my lord.
You had
368.
Say it one more time.
36883.
36883.
Sorry, I calculated the batteries.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think it's a calculator. I think the guy running it's on batteries.
Stop, you realize that.
Everybody get 368 on your calculator?
Yes.
And everybody understand how you got that calculation?
Yes.
Everybody good?
I see it.
I just want to know, how did you get like 68? $60?
I don't think you saw the 3.
All right, everybody try D by yourself.
See it through.
By yourself, Derek.
Did I say your name?
Leave each other alone.
Yeah, Easton's annoying today.
Go.
Shut up.
Today,
Hey, chill out.
Every day.
That's bullying.
It's fine, Easton.
It's not fine.
Deserves to be bullied.
What?
No, he deserves bullying.
Easton's lives matter too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I got it this time,
I'm
guys.
very confused.
Uh-huh.
I got it, I swear.
There we go.
So I'm pretty sure. I probably got it. Four six one point six three. Do you know? 461.63.
It's ignoring you.
Yeah, I got that.
Yes, you get it.
461.63.
Yes.
So one of the biggest things here is reading the problem that you rounded your periodic rate to the nearest 10,000. Tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, right? So you should have had 0.0575, and then that still goes to 0.000575. Then I'm going to multiply it times this times 30. Everybody agree?
8.42.
8.42.
Yeah?
Alright.
Six.
That's a plus sign.
Alright, so then I'm gonna go back and take my previous balance plus the finance charge of $8.42. And everybody get $8.42 first off.
See.
Anybody not?
I got 843.
What number did you use?
You were $400 at church the other day. Oh, you know it.
Oh, well, I rounded.
Yeah, but see when I did it, mine is actually 842.
Yeah.
When you did this number right here, did you round it to this?
Well, I did 121.
That's fine. But if you did 0.21 divided by 365, you still should have gotten this and this number right
It
here.
was definitely not.
If you use this as a 6, maybe.
I just used what's in the calculator. It's because it was.
Right. But it says you have to round to the nearest. Hey, stop talking and listen. You need to round, where is it? Right here, round to the nearest 10,000. So that would be tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. And so that's where this number, if you do this straight off and do the 0.21 divided by 365, that might be where we're running into some problems. Yeah, so then it would be off just a little bit. Okay, so I'll take that into consideration. So, we're adding the finance charge on. We're adding any purchases and fees. Remember what's a fee? That's just me, what I get charged for using that particular credit card. And then subtracting any payments and credits for a grand total of, what'd you say?
461.63.
Perfect.
You can't wrong 461.64.
Well, I gave you a.
Now that I see what, now that I see that this could adjust it.
You're right, I did say that.
All right, everybody understand the process though?
Yes,
Okay? Again, the first one that we did, C, was a monthly, so I divide by 12. The second one is a daily, okay? The tricky part of it might be, in some of them, where they would say that it's a daily one, but they wouldn't tell you how many periods there are in that cycle. So then you'd have to go by the month. So then you'd have to know how many days are in each month. Yeah. Tyrell has no
You still
idea.
put that on a quiz.
So that would be where it could get a little sticky, because you'd have to know all those numbers too.
What if it's a leap year?
January, February, March,
Okay.
May, June,
Alright, so questions here. This is what method?
This is the balance method.
Previous balance method. Okay? This is important too. You gotta know that part. So now we gotta do the adjusted balance method. So think about this now. If it's gonna be adjusted, we're gonna do something to that balance that we're bringing forward. Okay? So, look up here now. The adjusted balance method, you are going to subtract payments and credits during the month, but not your payments. Or sorry, you're not your purchases. So that's where it gets a little weird, I guess. So it's an adjusted balance to find your finance charge. You're going to take and before you do your process to get to your finance charge, you take your previous balance minus any payments and or credits. So, here's a question for you. I want everybody to think about this. First, think about this. If I have my previous balance and I'm going to subtract my payments and credits before I find my finance charge, is this better for me than this method?
Think about it.
Why?
Because then you'll have less to time to do it.
Exactly right. Right? So anytime that you have an option, you always want to pick the adjusted balance. Because I get to take all of my payments and take them off of my total. That make sense?
So if you pay it all immediately, you don't have a charge at all?
Exactly right.
So do you have, like,
That's what I would do.
does your credit place give you the option, like, is there an option for some credit places? Like, do you want to do the previous or do you want to adjust it?
No, I would say they would tell you that at the beginning.
Okay. So do a lot of credit places do previous because they get more money?
I would say yes, they're probably going to do that.
Do you have adjusted or previous?
I have no idea because I never have a finance charge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, so I never run into this situation because I never put myself in that situation. Okay?
So like, what places would even have an adjusted one? It's like if they're making more money.
Are these just for credit cards?
You know, you could use this kind of method for loans too. Anything. But yeah, specifically right now, I don't know an answer to that. Somebody that has a big heart, I don't
So
know.
these are just how the companies find their finance.
Get you your interest payments.
Oh, so they use this.
They would use
They would
this,
use one of the other.
one or the other. Exactly right. Okay, so, notice here. The periodic rate is still the exact same thing. You still got to do the periodic rate. Okay? And then your new balance is adding the adjusted balance with all the purchases you made. Because you don't have to do the payments and credits now at the end like we did in this one, because we've already done it. Everybody agree with that and see what that means? Okay? You have another question, Ethan?
Yeah, so is it basically you're just putting a subtracting step in the beginning? So that
Yes.
you still have to add the purchases?
That's a great way of thinking of it,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
And so, like Dee said, it's gonna end up making your total smaller, which is a good thing for us. Alright, so, what letter are we on? E? Let's look at letter E. Wait, what time we leave here?
44.
We'll come back and do E and F tomorrow. So, that pushes quiz back to Wednesday. Alright, so, we'll do adjusted balance tomorrow, you'll get to work on your assignment in class, and then the quiz will be the following day.
So good, guys, I figured